Hello friends, in this video we will see the definition of probability. Okay, so before knowing the definition of the probability, we must know what is experiment, and then random experiment, and then sample space, and then we should know what is event. What is event? So experiment is a operation. Okay, experiment is a operation which can produce which can produce well-defined outcome. Well-defined outcome. So experiment is what? An operation which produces well-defined outcome. Okay. For example, tossing a coin. So you know, tossing the coin will give the well-defined outcome. So that may be tail or head. Okay. That may be tail or head. Okay. For example, throwing the dice. You know, when you are throwing a dice, you know, so the output may be 1 to 6. The output may be 1 to 6. So that is called as an experiment. Okay, so an operation which can produce well-defined outcome is called as experiment. For example, tossing a coin or throwing a dice. Okay, and next one is the random experiment. So random experiment is the experiment. Okay, so we know all possible outcomes, but we do not know the exact outcome when we are tossing or throwing a dice. Okay, so we know the random experiment is what actually it is an experiment in which we know all possible outcomes. So we know all possible outcomes, but we do not know the exact outcome. But we do not know the exact outcome. Exact outcome. So then that is called as random experiment. Okay. So random experiment was we know all possible outcome of the experiment, but we do not know the exact outcome. For example, tossing a coin. So we know the outcome may be tail or head, but exactly we do not know tail will come or head will come. So that's why tossing a coin is a random experiment. It is also same manner with the dice. So whenever we are throwing a dice, we will get that 1 to 6. Okay, 1 to 6. We know the all possible outcomes, but we do not know the exact outcome. Okay, when we are throwing a dice. So that's why these two are examples of random experiment. And next one is the sample space. Sample space is actually simply a set of all possible outcomes. Set of all possible outcomes. All possible outcomes of experiment. Experiment. Okay. So sample space is the set of all possible outcomes of experiment. For example, tossing a coin. So the sample space of tossing a coin is the tail or head. Tail or head. So sample space is a set. Set we can represent using curly braces. And then that contains the all possible outcomes. Suppose whenever you are throwing a dice, so all possible outcomes are tail or head. So that's why that is sample space, tail or head. So this is the sample space of throwing a coin. So next one is throwing a dice. I mean the sample space is 1 to 6. All possible outcomes 1 may come, 2 may come, or 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is the actually sample space of dice. Okay, sample space of throwing the dice. Okay, so I hope you got this one. Okay, sample space is what? Set of all possible outcomes of an experiment. Whenever throwing a dice, we may get the outcome of tail or head. So that's why the tail or head together is a set we are putting inside a set, and that is called as a sample space of uh, tossing a coin. And next one is this is the throwing a dice sample space. Okay, so that contains 1 to 6. So next one is the event. An event is simply subset of sample space. Event is the subset of sample space. So if we denote event with capital E, then it is the subset of S. Subset is means what? The all elements in E is going to be available in the S. So then it is called as subset. Sometimes the subset is equivalent to the sample space also. Okay, subset is equivalent to some set also. So here the event may be the subset of S or equivalent to the S. S is the sample space. Okay, so subset of sample space is called as a event. Okay, so when we have a sample space S and event E, so then the probability E is defined. The probability of occurring event E is given by n of E by n of S. So n of E gives the number of elements in the event. Okay, and n of S gives the number of elements in the sample space. Okay, so I will show you one example for this one. Okay, so first one is, for example, we are tossing a coin, then we have to find the probability of getting head. Okay, probability of getting head. Okay, so when tossing coin, that is the sample space of tossing the coin experiment is what? It contains head or tail. It contains head or tail. So the event is what? For what event we want to find the probability? So the event is, so we have to find the probability of occurring head whenever we are tossing a coin. So whenever we are tossing a coin, we have to find the head will come, or what is the probability of head coming. Okay, so that is the event. So E is equal to H. If you observe this one, this H is available here. So it is clear that E is the subset of sample space. E is the subset of sample space. Now we have to find whenever we are tossing a coin. So what is the probability of this event E? That means the occurring of head. Okay, so that is given by probability of E is equal n of S. So n of E, the number of elements in E, that is the cardinality of the E by, so n of S, so that is the probability of, I mean the number of elements in the sample space. So if you see, the number of elements in the event is only 1, so that is 1, and the number of elements in the sample space is 1 and 2, so this is equivalent to 1 by 2, so that is going to be 0.5. So this is the probability of occurring the head whenever we are tossing a coin. Okay, whenever we are tossing a coin. Okay, so I hope you got this one. And probability have some basic properties. So in that, the probability of sample space is always going to be 1. The probability of sample space is always going to be 1. Okay, and second one is, the probability of any event is always going to be between 0 to 1. Okay, is always going to be between 0 to 1. Okay, okay, the probability of any event is always going to be 0, between 0 and 1. Okay, and the probability of pi, so that is null, the probability of null set is always 0. The probability of null set is 0. Okay, so these are the some basic properties of probability. So I hope you got this one. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any doubt, please leave a comment and please subscribe my channel. Thank you.